Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Neals Chitan, and it's my pleasure to speak to you from my office here in St. George's, Grenada today. As you see on the screen, my aim is to take you through a winding road as Grenada now celebrates its 50th anniversary of independence in this year, 2024. Yeah, we are celebrating. As a matter of fact, we had an awesome celebration and still are in celebration mode as the government has planned celebration for the whole year. But I just want to take you back on this historic day today at your convention. I would like to take you back to some of the bumps and curves in the road up to 50. And so I ask you to stay with me just for a couple of minutes as we journey together on this winding road up to 50. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, it is documented in history that an Italian sailor by the name of Christopher Columbus, under the Spanish flag of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain, was in search of what he called a new world. Ladies and gentlemen, the history says in August 1498, after sighting some other islands in the Caribbean, he sighted the beautiful island of Grenada. Of course, at that time, the name was not Grenada, but he called it Concepcion Island. He liked what he saw in terms of the scenery, of the beauty of the island, but he also knew it was a perfect spot for trade, sea trade between South Central America and Europe. And so, of course, he landed in Grenada in August 1498. And when he landed here, he found, ladies and gentlemen, the native people, the Amerindians, the Kalinagos, as they were called, people who we commonly refer to as the Caribs. Ladies and gentlemen, there were people living here on this island. And there seemed to be, as we journeyed through the road up to 50, the winding path up to 50, you will notice there is something but people whose feet are planted on this soil. There is a courage about them. There is a resilience about them. There is a getting up and moving on about them. And ladies and gentlemen, as Columbus landed, he was met by the Caribs, who they say was fierce in nature. On the screen, you'll see a picture of the Carib people, the Kalinagos, enjoying civilization as primitive as it were then, with the thatch roof houses and the agricultural crops of cassava and potatoes and what have you. Ladies and gentlemen, very early in the sighting and the possessing of Concepcion Island, the native people, the Kalinagos, did not lie down and take it easy, but they put up a defense. They always put up a defense, even if the island changed hands from Spain to England, to English, to France. There was always the Kalinago people, the natives of the island had in their blood always to defend their land, to stand up against unfairness, stand up against injustice that the Europeans were trying to levy against them, trying to make them work for them. The Caribs stood. Ladies and gentlemen, it was in the early part of the 1600s that Dupaquet, the French general, who was then in charge of the island, left his cousin as he departed back to Martinique. The Kalinago people saw it as a good opportunity to create an uprising against the French. And they said that 300 Kalinagos attacked the French. The French saw it as a wonderful opportunity, as a justified reason to cleanse Conception Island of its inhabitants, the Caribs or the Kalinagos. And so they fought back with the pistols and the rifles. And the Kalinago people, the fierce warriors of the Kalinagos, who we call the Caribs, fought back with the bow and arrows and the spears and put up a really good defense. But of course, the arrows and the spears were no match for firepower. And so they retreated to the north of the island, further north, pushed by the firepower of the French rifles and pistols, until they got to the top of the island. And as you know the history, my fellow Grenadians, there were nowhere else to go. Their bravery and their courage would not allow them to surrender. Their resilience against dominance would not allow them to. And so it is said, it is alleged that instead of reaching the highest point of the cliff, there was nowhere else to go. And it is believed that over 300 Kalinago Caribs, in an effort of defiance, non-surrender to the European powers, it is alleged that they decided, instead of giving up, they were going to jump. That's what the history says. And so, ladies and gentlemen, over the northern part of the island, in a spot that is referred to Le Monde Sauté, or the Hill of the Leapers or the Jumpers, it is believed that our Carib Grenadians leaped to their death. Ladies and gentlemen, but that's not the only scene of rebellion or revolution in Grenadian history. That was only the start, as a matter of fact. And so as we go through, that's just some pictures of the riot, of the Kalinago Revolution, as we call it. But then came another leader. And by then, Grenada was rid of its native people, the Kalinagos. And in the European bid for brown sugar, they planted sugarcane estates, plantations in the Caribbean and Grenada, and brought in African slaves to work it. Of course, these estates, these sugarcane estates, were manned by the colonial masters who took advantage of our forefathers, beating them to death sometimes, breaking the Black family. Man, having them working long hours. Ladies and gentlemen, at that time, there was a Black planter by the name of Julian Fedor, and that's his picture right there. Julian Fedor was a planter who had his estate up in the Belvedere, the highland and the high mountain. And with him, he had a number of Africans there working along with him on his estate, on his plantation. It is believed that as Julian Fedor administered his plantation and took care of his slaves or workers, that there was a a meeting called in St. George's of planters on the island, of estate owners. So it is said that Julian Fedon jumped on his horse and rode from the Belvedere right to St. George's, to the government house, where there was a meeting to be convened. And when they saw Julian Fedon come in as a black man, they shut it down his face. They wondered what he was doing there. Here doesn't belong to you. You don't belong here. Julian Fedon turned around and said in French patois, which I don't know, but if you know it, you probably can say it. I'm going, and you're going to hear from me. Ladies and gentlemen, Fedon went back to Belvedere on his estate and marshaled his workers, his slaves. They dug 2 caves, underground tunnel, from Belvedere to Pilot Hill in Grenville. You see, at that time, the town was not in Grenville. It was in Marquis, and it was called L'Abbé. L'Abbé was the name of the town. That's why people still refer to Grenville as L'Abbé. And dug another cave to Black Main Wharf. And ladies and gentlemen, in March of 1795, seeking justice, Julian Fedon marched his soldiers, his black slaves, through these underground tunnels to Pilot Hill. And between 1795 and 1796, March 1795 to June 1796, marshaled a campaign, a revolution. Some people call it, if you go looking for it, you'll see it as Julian Fedon Rebellion. Others call it Julian Fedon Revolution. You see, ladies and gentlemen, revolution is nothing new to us. And so, using his firepower with cannons that was still in Pilot Hill, not too far from when I went to school, in Methodist school, they shelled on Marquis. They shelled on Marquis and mashed up the town. It is said that Julian Fedon took as captive a priest, a white priest, and a 13-year-old boy, which he took back to Belvedere. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the English sought backup and came back for Julian Fedon. When Julian Fedon heard that the English were coming, he decided that he was going to slaughter the 13-year-old boy and the priest. As a matter of fact, it's alleged, by the way. And Julian Fedon went through the underground passage to Black Bay to escape. When the English soldiers got up to Belvedere looking for him, it is alleged that his mother put her hand up on her head and said in patois, "Oh God, I made the boy, but I didn't make his mind." Ladies and gentlemen, Julian Fedon escaped and was never heard about again. You see, that's what I'm trying to tell you. It would seem that anybody who put their feet on this soil stands for justice, is courageous, and true revolutionaries. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, under colonial rule, Grenadians then were working hard. As we went through the 1800s and 1900s, ladies and gentlemen, your great-grandmother and my great-grandmother were under the taskmaster's whip. Not necessarily whip, but the long working hours. I still remember my grandmother saying that she left her children and went to work from 4 in the morning with a flambeau, a masanto, and come back 7, 8 o'clock at work at the night for a couple of cents. The Grenadian people, the ordinary laborer, was going through slavery, legal slavery, if you want to call it. At that time, there was a young man, young Grenadian who was working in the oil fields in Aruba and hearing about the plight of his people, or experiencing it probably himself, decided to come back to Grenada, 1951, ladies and gentlemen, and get involved in politics and trade union movement. You know him as Sir Eric Matthew Gary. He became Sir Eric Matthew Gary. But Eric Gary came back and fought for the workers, improving the earning and cutting down on their day. That's why some older folks, in my grandmother, before she died, when talking to my grandma, any of the people of her era would tell you, Uncle Gary, Uncle Gary. That's why he earned the name Uncle Gary, because of they saw him as a savior. Gary was involved in politics, and ladies and gentlemen, led Grenada through statehood in 1968. But ladies and gentlemen, shortly after Gary came back to Grenada, tragedy hit as a devastating hurricane that you may have heard about, called Hurricane Janet, demolished Grenada. And there's some pictures here of the destruction of Hurricane Janet. Ladies and gentlemen, Grenada was totally devastated. People had nowhere to live. People lost their lives. Houses just disappeared. The river took families, children. Grenada was in a bad state. But again, the resilience of the Grenadian people, the courage of the Grenadian people sprang into action. And with help from international agencies, Grenada started an upward climb again. And this picture, of course, is the picture of what we call a Janet house. It's named after the hurricane, of course. It were prefab houses that came in pieces and could be assembled very quickly. I don't know. It seems like a wooden structure, but if it should be told, it's stronger than concrete. A lot of concrete buildings have fallen, and these houses, you still may find one or two of them across the island. Ladies and gentlemen, but Grenada was on their feet again as that resilience, courage resurrected in them. And of course, as I was saying early on, Gary led Grenada from colonization to statehood. And in 1968, Grenada got the statehood. And of course, the flag changed, the flag you see in there. And then, ladies and gentlemen, of course, to 1974, when full independence was achieved from Britain. Well, of course, through the Gary days, it's alleged that there was a lot of corruption. It's alleged that people were tired. It's alleged. And to answer that quest for so-called freedom, a group of young men and young women called the New Jewel Movement was founded. I'm not going into the details of this, but the New Jewel Movement met in undisclosed places because of the fear, of course, or the alleged fear of Gary's policemen, secret policemen, and what have you. And so they planned underneath until, ladies and gentlemen, staging riots, 72, 74 riots in Grenada, taking to the streets and pulling together a group of young people, a young population, to go up against the Grenada United Labour Party and Eric Gary. Ladies and gentlemen, it was March 13, 1979, led by while Gary was away, led by the young lawyer, Canadian trained, English trained lawyer, Maurice Bishop, and his buddy, another English trained Grenadian lawyer, Bernard Code. They led a revolution. There goes a revolution again, my friends, against Gary's regime. Taking power, March 13, 1979, taken to the streets and introduced into Grenada a new, by the way, by the gun. It wasn't through ballot box, but through firepower to Grenada. Ladies and gentlemen, that's where mantras like forward ever, backward never became popular, as you see in that screen there. Here is Maurice Bishop, the charismatic, handsome, then young Prime Minister of Grenada. As a result, ladies and gentlemen, as a result of the socialist ideology of this new regime in Grenada, called the PRG, sorry, the People's Revolutionary Government. Of course, they formed ties with a lot of Eastern Bloc countries, with socialist and communist countries. And of course, as you see on the screen, the revolution took us to Cuba, where indeed Fidel Castro led a revolution in 1959 also. However, in 5 short years, again, things stirred up within the rank and file of the PRG, and things went sour there. Infighting led to the death, the execution of the then Prime Minister Maurice Bishop and a number of his cabinet members. It was what the then President of the United States of America, Ronald Reagan, was waiting for. He was waiting for an invite as regional governments led by Eugenia Childs of Dominica made the call to Reagan for assistance. And ladies and gentlemen, in October of 1983, America invaded Grenada. The Grenadian soldiers fought back, just like the Kaliniak did, just as the Caribs did, ladies and gentlemen. And Grenada was restored back to democracy. However, ladies and gentlemen, the year 2004, now under democracy, Grenada will face another challenge. Remember, this is called the winding path to 50, the winding road to 50. And in 2004, Grenada, like in 1955, Grenada was again hit by a Category 4, Category 5 hurricane that demolished Grenada, devastated Grenada. And there are pictures for those of you who were present in Grenada at that time. You probably know these pictures as Grenada was slaughtered by Hurricane Ivan. Roofs were gone, buildings, that's a stadium, but as a matter of fact, fell. There is another picture of the stadium, flattened. Grenada suffered immensely. 70–80% of the housing stock. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the then government, with pulling together all the resources and all the international connections, decided that they were going to build back bigger and better. And so, ladies and gentlemen, in the space of 4 or 5 years, Grenada was back on his feet again. But again, 20 years after, through different governments, leadership, recently, on the 1st of July, 2024, ladies and gentlemen, here came another Category 4, Category 5 hurricane, Beryl this time, passing to the north of Grenada, and brushing the northern parish of Grenada, launched an attack on our twin sisters, our twin sisters, Carriacou and Pinimatnik, and totally devastated Carriacou and Pinimatnik. These are some pictures you see there of the devastation. Ladies and gentlemen, when I landed as a social and behavioral interventionist, when I landed, I was asked to go to Carriacou to help deal with the trauma, the psychosocial, and be a psychosocial support to the people there. I worked with special assignment in Pitimatnik. When I saw the devastation, I couldn't believe. Ladies and gentlemen, like a fire had raged over Carriacou. And so here we were in Pitimatnik, as a matter of fact, going there to bring solace, helping them to deal with the trauma and the pain of loss. Here we are doing a psychoeducation session of inspiration, motivation, and hope for the people of Carriacou that we brought over to Grenada. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to let you know that on our road to 50, the winding road to 50, Grenada has seen revolution. Grenada has seen devastation. And recently, we have been seeing in Grenada devastation among our youth population. We have seen gunfights among feuding gangs. We've seen young men fall into the bullets. We've seen hands being chopped off. And ladies and gentlemen, Grenada was quickly on its path to becoming an unsafe place. But it was then we were marshaled. As an international crime reduction interventionist, the Cabinet of Grenada, through the Ministry of Social Development and its Minister, Gloria Thomas, and its Permanent Secretary, Naomi Jeremiah, called on us for help. And I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, another revolution has started in Grenada. A revolution against crime and violence. And so as I end this video, I'm happy to let you know that we have engaged Project Stop and Think across Grenada. We are now packing hurricane strength winds across Grenada. On this, the 50th anniversary of Grenada's independence. I'm happy that the Ministry of Social Development has arisen to the challenge and has engaged us. Ladies and gentlemen, Project Stop and Think, it is a powerful behavior modification program where we get to the roots of crime and violence. As you see on your screen, we are rolling it out in 7 communities. We have started, and we are now in 8 communities, working every single day. As a matter of fact, today, we are heading into Guelph. 12 powerful social skills sessions dealing with the roots of disrespect, anger, revenge, failure, grief, loss, petty crimes, court sentences, physical, emotional, sexual abuse, suicides, homicides. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to let you know that one of the significant participants from the Carnage, he actually sent me a voice clip, and another voice clip said to me, Dr. Chitan, I love your energy, I love your passion. My brother, you are actually starting a positive men's revolution. There is the word again, ladies and gentlemen, across Grenada. We are working hard. We are putting our best into it as we launch yet another hurricane wind of change, of positive social and crime prevention change. A revolution, according to my friend, of good men in Grenada. Hey, Grenada is on its way. And so I proclaim to you, happy 50th anniversary, Grenada. of independence as we move forward to making this place a better, a safer, a resilient, a courageous place. As we raise a next generation of Grenadians, may God help us and may God bless Grenada. God bless you.